What are your experiences with the L-CID study?
So to me, the L-CID is one of those really rare data sets that seems to turn the dial in scientific innovation. It's a large, very dedicated effort to characterizing human behavioral and brain development. The study is comprehensive. It's large, it's multimodal, it's longitudinal, it includes a twin design and an early intervention. And you really don't see that combination of those aspects in many data sets today, especially not one as large as L-CID. And importantly, the large sample size allows us to assess the robustness of any observed effects, which you can't do with many data sets that include human subjects, especially developing samples.
What opportunities do you see for L-CID in science?
One thing that makes me excited about the project is that it includes both twins and longitudinal data. So with this combination, researchers will be allowed to look at both genetic and environmental effects on how the individual differences in brain development over time in kids. And this combination is really rare in science, so it's a really exciting opportunity.
This design, I think, would be a really great exemplar for other countries to maybe look to and hopefully adopt at least some aspects to see if something similar can be done in the United States or elsewhere. So that's already a big impact as an exemplar study. I think you have worked to make your data, it seems like, available and accessible. And so that's already, again, a very big thing that doesn't often happen in large studies, but seems to be more the norm these days. And so I think that will be really useful. But also just the amount of work that's been put into making the scientific findings accessible to a broader audience. So not just the scientists, but to other relevant stakeholders, including young people. I really enjoyed that video that defined the 5 brain facts in the house. I thought that was just a really clever way to disseminate the research.
Most adolescents don't become clinical or developmental psychologists, and most of them don't become neuroscientists. So asking them what their lives are like is important. And I think driving that forward, developing the methods around that, developing standards around that, really thinking how to do that work is going to be really profoundly useful for our field, not just for people who are doing usual straight up developmental cognitive neuroscience, but especially also for people who are studying a really wide range of populations and a sort of more representative samples. So.
What opportunities do you see for L-CID in society?
I think parents are really curious to see what they can do in order to help nurture their children and to contribute to optimal developmental trajectories. And so having this intervention component embedded in a longitudinal neuroimaging and cognitive assessments, I think is going to be really helpful.
The open science approach of the L-CID investigators affords us the potential to harmonize or link up with data sets that are curated in other countries and in other cultures. And so one really important example of this relates to how children have been faring through the COVID-19 pandemic. So comparing the findings, for example, in the L-CID to those, say, in the US, where lockdown policies may have varied, can really provide deeper insights into policies and decision-making that can inform future policies and decision-making. And so now the children are entering mid-adolescence. And so the time is ripe to continue to follow this unique sample into this critical developmental transition into adolescence when individuals are becoming more independent. And we know that adolescence is a period of great individual growth, as well as significant risk for mental health difficulties. So with the L-CID, we could have lifetime deep and thorough characterizations of these individuals which is really needed for identifying those individuals at greatest risk, as well as contributing to our general scientific knowledge of how you construct a brain. So in other words, child and adolescent brain development is really one of the last frontiers of science. And the L-CID dataset allows us to begin to ask really exciting questions about how we all develop.
So knowledge about both physical environmental factors and social environmental factors is important also for policymakers, I think, and for society at large, because this can inform what we need to focus on and in order to optimize child development.